I turned 27 the year this happened. I worked as a mid-level graphic designer for a small marketing agency in the city. Nothing glamorous, nothing particularly stressful, just enough steady routine to make me feel like I had my life somewhat together. I've always been quiet, the type who keeps celebrations small and expectations even smaller. Birthdays especially were never a big deal to me. A dinner, maybe a drink, usually something simple at home. That year, my birthday fell on a Tuesday. I remember waking up thinking it would be just like any other day, aside from the obligatory happy birthday messages from family and a few friends. I wasn't planning anything. In fact, I had told everyone not to bother. My plan was to work, go home, order sushi, maybe watch a movie and call it a night. It was early October, the kind of month where the mornings are cold enough to sting your fingers, but the sun still tries to pretend it's summer. I remember leaving my apartment around 8 a.m., locking the door behind me and feeling oddly peaceful, like I was stepping into a day that would be completely predictable. If I had known how wrong I was, I would have called out of work, or stayed with a friend, or done anything at all, other than follow the same routine I always did. But nothing felt unusual at first. No gut feeling, no odd sound in the hallway, no strange face on the street. The horror that would follow began quietly, almost politely. On the morning of my birthday, work was as ordinary as it gets. The office was half empty because 2 of my co-workers were on vacation and another had called in sick. My boss bought me a cupcake from the bakery downstairs, vanilla with blue frosting, and the whole team sang "Happy Birthday" out of tune around 3 p.m. I laughed, I made a wish, I ate half of it, and spent the rest of the afternoon fixing the layout for a client who always wanted last-minute changes. Around 5:45 p.m., I grabbed my bag, shut down my computer, and told my boss I'd see her tomorrow. I remember the sunset pouring orange light through the office windows as I walked toward the elevator. It felt peaceful, familiar. Outside, the air had cooled down a lot since morning, and the sky was turning that deep bluish color that only October seems to produce. I walked 2 blocks to the bus stop, scrolling through a few happy birthday messages on my phone, smiling at some, ignoring others. The bus was running late, nothing surprising. When it finally came, it was almost empty. I sat near the middle, put my headphones on, and watched the city pass by in a blur of streetlights and people walking dogs. I got off 3 stops later, near a small convenience store. I always stopped there on my way home to grab something, usually a drink or a snack. That evening, I picked up a bottle of iced tea and a pack of instant noodles for the next day. Everything about the night felt normal, almost soothing in its mundanity. But the first hint that something was off happened as I was leaving the store, so subtle that I didn't even register it until hours later. A man standing by the entrance nodded at me, a slow, too friendly nod, one I didn't recognize. I walked past him without thinking much about it, but as I stepped outside, I realized he was still looking at me, not aggressively, not creepily, just watching, like he was waiting for me to notice him. He was tall, maybe in his mid-40s, wearing a dark jacket and jeans. Nothing unusual. His face was forgettable. Not in a rude way, but in that bland, generic way some people have. I glanced at him briefly, gave a polite half smile, and kept walking. He nodded again. Something about the timing of it, like he was responding to my expression, made my stomach tighten just a little. But I brushed it off. People in the city can be odd. Maybe he was drunk or lonely or both. As I headed toward my apartment, I kept telling myself not to be paranoid on my own birthday. I put my headphones back in and walked the remaining 3 blocks. When I reached my building, I instinctively turned around before going inside. It's a habit I developed after years of living in different places. Just a quick check to make sure no one's following. Usually, I don't expect to see anything. But that night, for a microsecond, I thought I saw the same man from the store standing about half a block away. I froze, but when I blinked, I realized it wasn't him. Just another guy wearing a similar jacket facing the other way. I felt stupid for even reacting. I keyed myself into the building, went upstairs, changed into comfy clothes, and ordered sushi, my usual birthday treat. I didn't think about the man again for almost 2 hours, not until he knocked on my apartment door. It was around 9:15 p.m. when the knock came. Not a loud or aggressive one, just 2 firm taps. I paused my movie and got up, assuming it was the delivery guy returning because he forgot something, or maybe a neighbor who needed help. When I checked the peephole, no one was there. I frowned. Maybe I misheard. I opened the door a crack and looked down the hallway. Empty. It didn't immediately scare me, but it bothered me. I closed the door, locked it, and went back to the couch. 20 minutes later, another knock. 3 taps this time. Slow. I froze again. I walked to the door, this time more cautious, and looked through the peephole. No one. The hallway was still and silent. I whispered, "Hello?" like an idiot. No response. I backed away, feeling my chest tighten. Something was wrong. I knew it now. I double-checked all the locks, made sure the chain was on, and sat back on the couch, this time with the TV muted so I could hear better. 15 minutes passed. Then my phone vibrated. Unknown number. Happy birthday. I felt my blood drain. Another message came in immediately. You didn't blow out your candles. There were no candles. Not this year. Not in my apartment. Not anywhere. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. I typed back, "Who is this?" But before I could hit send, I heard it. A soft exhale coming from the other side of my front door. Someone was standing there, breathing, listening. That's when pure panic hit me. I turned off the lights. I grabbed my phone. I backed away from the door. The breathing got louder. I called 190 immediately. My voice cracked when the operator answered. "There's someone outside my apartment door," I whispered. "I think he's been knocking. He's breathing out there." The operator told me an officer would be dispatched and to stay where I was. I thanked her, hung up, and kept my eyes locked on the door. The breathing stopped. Silence. For a moment I thought the person had left. Then, "I brought you something." A man's voice, calm, too calm. I felt my throat close. "Go away," I managed to say, backing up toward the kitchen. He chuckled, not loudly, just a soft, amused sound. "You didn't even look at me earlier," he said. "You just walked past. Didn't even say thank you." My stomach twisted. My voice barely came out. "Who are you?" He didn't answer. Instead, something slid under my door, a small rectangle of paper. I stared at it from across the room. It was a printed photo. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to. Even from a distance, I recognized the image. It was me, walking out of the convenience store. From only a few feet away, I gasped. "Go away," I said again, louder this time. He tapped the door lightly with his fingertips. "You look so lonely today. Birthdays shouldn't be spent alone." I heard movement, like he was leaning closer, pressing his ear to the door. "You should open it," he whispered. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a heavy metal pan from the kitchen drawer, and held it like a weapon, my hands shaking violently. "I called the police," I blurted out. "They're on their way." Silence. Then slowly, his footsteps moved down the hall. I didn't trust it. I didn't move until I heard the stairwell door open and slam shut. When the police finally arrived about 10 minutes later, I was still standing in the dark kitchen, gripping the pan so tightly my fingers had gone numb. 2 officers checked the hallway, the stairwell, and the building's exterior, but found nothing. No sign of the man, no cameras in the hallway, no witnesses. I showed them the text messages and the photo. They asked if I knew him. I said no. They asked if I had exes, enemies, stalkers, disgruntled co-workers. No, no, and no. One officer told me it was probably a one-off incident and suggested I stay with a friend for the night. The other told me to keep my phone on and call again if anything happened. That was it. They left around midnight. I didn't sleep at all. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow felt wrong. By morning, the unknown number had been deactivated. The texts couldn't be traced. The photo remained on my kitchen floor like a curse I didn't know how to get rid of. I moved out 3 weeks later. It's been 2 years now. I still don't celebrate my birthday. I still check peepholes twice, sometimes 3 times, before opening my door. And I still think about that second message he sent. "You didn't blow out your candles." I try not to wonder what he meant. I try not to imagine what was waiting for me on the other side of the door. But every year on my birthday, I wake up to a single text from a different unknown number. "Make a wish.